What do Stevie Ray Vaughan, Cory Wong, Nile Rodgers, and Gojira all have in common? Ghost notes, dead notes, and grace notes. We got a lot to talk about. The groove guitar holy trinity. Ghost notes, grace notes, and dead notes. Despite names that belong in a mortuary, these articulations will bring new life to your guitar playing. Today, I'll show you how incorporating things like ghost notes, dead notes, and grace notes into your guitar playing will make you sound tighter, groovier, funkier, and way more pro. From funk to R&B and metal, these 5 riffs use subtle picking, percussive mutes, and syncopation to lock in and groove hard. And they're all super fun to play. So, ghost notes, grace notes, and dead notes. What's the difference? Ghost notes are very quiet notes with a rhythmic value, usually played in between beats in time to the groove. They're meant to be felt rather than heard. Grace notes, on the other hand, are extremely fast notes played detached from the beat, usually immediately before the accented beat, like this. They're so fast and subtle that instead of getting their own place on the staff in a measure of written music, they get pint-sized and stuck just behind the primary note like this. Now, what about dead notes? These are probably the most familiar to you if you've been playing guitar for a little while. Dead notes are percussive notes played without pitch, usually by muting the strings. Now, technically speaking, both grace notes and ghost notes can be dead. To perform a dead note, gently cover or dampen the strings. Then strike or pluck. You can also apply less pressure with your fretting hand over a string to produce the same effect. These articulations let us add rhythmic excitement and motion to our riffs and licks without any harmonic contour, which is perfect when you want to lock into a groove without altering your melody or riff. Hearing is believing, so check out this metal example that you'll learn later in the video. Here's what that example would sound like without dead notes. And now with dead notes. These techniques show up everywhere, from Nile Rodgers to John Frusciante, Tosin Abasi, and even in modern R&B and neo-soul. So grab your guitar and let's riff. As always, we'll hear each example up to tempo and then slow. And you can find XML versions of these tabs for use with Guitar Pro or Soundslice from the link in the description below. For the first 2 examples, I'm going to show you 2 versions, one using ghost notes and one using grace notes. This way you can hear and feel the difference. Now, ultimately, both of these articulations can more or less be used to the same effect in your playing, so don't obsess over every small detail.
Not quite my tempo.
First, let's hear the riff with ghost notes. Notice how I'm using a steady pattern of ghost notes in between the accented beats. This keeps the groove moving along by locking the guitar in with the hi-hats. Like I said earlier, we can use this technique to add rhythmic content without changing the melody or disjointing the accents laid down by the rest of the band. To play this, keep your picking hand rocking back and forth gently as you play, using a soft touch for the ghost notes and digging in harder on the accented beats. Since these ghost notes are really dead notes, you'll want to ease up on the pressure you're applying with your fretting hand to ensure the ghost notes don't have pitch in between the accented notes. Alternatively, you could try to play the same riff with really quiet ghost notes, which would sound like this. This is quite tricky and a great exercise in controlling dynamics and using a varied but subtle touch, especially when played at a fast tempo. Now let's hear it with grace notes. Now remember, grace notes literally grace the note we're playing with their presence.
Your grace.
Just for a split second before the accented beat. This version has the grace note in 2 forms. One is a quick anticipation plucking a dead note on an adjacent string, just before hitting the target note. The other being a quick slide into a note from below. Unlike a typical slide up on guitar, this one is very intentional, covering only a short distance of a semitone, approaching the target note as fast as possible. Example 2 leads us into the pop, R&B, neo-soul realm, with a set of jazzy 7th chords and basic fingerstyle. So this riff uses 4 chords: C major 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, and G. The first set of dead ghost notes appears when transitioning from the C major 7th chord to the E minor 7th chord. Instead of playing all the notes in the E minor 7th chord, I'm using the muted A, D, and G strings to play a dead note triplet leading into just 2 notes from the chord, G, the minor 3rd, and the root E, played on the B string, before quickly moving to the A minor 7th chord. Use the middle, 3rd, and 4th fingers to pluck the muted strings with your picking hand. Your pick will always play the lowest note, freeing up your other fingers to hit the higher notes in the chord. If this entire phrase is too challenging at first, try isolating just one chord transition. This way you can focus on accuracy, finger placement, and the groove. Now let's hear it again, this time with grace notes. Notice how this time, instead of playing the muted measured triplet over E minor, we're just doing a rapid rake across the strings into the G note. This is the primary difference between the ghost and grace notes. The ghost notes measured and felt by the listener. The grace notes unmeasured, used more for texture than timing. Percussive rhythm metal guitar demands absolute mastery of your instrument, especially in the articulation department. To keep this video beginner and intermediate friendly, we won't go into full Gojira territory, but we will work on the fundamentals that'll get you there. Dead note riffing in the metal genre at a more manageable tempo. Again, there are 2 areas to focus on with this riff. First is the dead notes in the space between the opening chord stabs and the next part of the phrase. The second bar plays a fast repeating pattern of dead 16th note triplets, punctuated by F on the 1st fret of the low E string. Example 4 takes us through 4 bars of a 12-bar blues form, in kind of a Chicago electric blues style, punching up some generic blues licks with grace, dead, and ghost notes. Practice the descending lick in bar 3 very slowly, as it contains 3 rapid grace notes, then quickly transitions into a dense bar of dead notes. Try dressing up some of your favorite blues licks with these embellishments. Okay, we've gone from funk to soul, R&B to metal and back to blues. Now let's look at one final example in a progressive or fusion style. These lines use the grace note concept in a less obvious way than the others. By adding quick slides and rakes to these licks, we add rhythmic contour to the lines that feels less boxy and linear, then playing them straight up and down. The first arpeggio is bookended by two grace notes. A rapid slide down into the first note from a half step above, then a rapid slide up into the last note. When the chord changes to C minor 7, we have a quick rake slide grace note into the ninth. And finally, on the descending phrase through C pentatonic, a few cheeky grace note slides into the fourth from the flat 5, before concluding the phrase. So, which lick was your favorite? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know which technique you want to learn about in the next video.